Where is his tie? Anna tie.
This is not a Senate day. You will just be. As long as we maintain decorum, I will let it pass. Okay, who's our next senator? Kirinyaga?
Majority.
Okay, Senator for Kirinyaga, you're muted. You know there's a Hansard recording, so if you speak, that's when it will be known that you are present.
Maybe I will start.
Charles Kebiro, Senator Kirinyaga. Is that in order?
That's in order. We had Senator
Hello, Chairman, you can hear me?
Yes.
Senator Kabaka Boniface Machakos.
Thank you. We had Senator
Afraid of Miguna.
Going by the alliance of Tranoa. I think we should try to sort that out. Any other senator who is on board who has not gone on record?
Trevor.
Oh, okay, just for purposes of proceeding, I'm Moses Otieno Kajwang, the chair of this committee and senator for Homa Bay. May I, before I get to the assembly, control of budget, are you with a team supporting you?
Yes, Chairman. I have my Director Legal Affairs, Rhoda Ruto, and I have Patrick Kamore, who's one of the financial analysts. But Chairman, they're not on the screen. I'm the one on the screen. They're on standby here with me.
Okay, and for the appointment are Dr. Nyakanga, the control budget.
Chairman, I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Let me move to the assembly. And honorable members of the assembly, maybe let's start. Don't know that will be the speaker of the leader of majority.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Chair. And my name is James Kamau Morango, MCA everywhere, and the majority leader. And I hope the other members can introduce themselves.
Good morning, Honorable Senators.
Good morning.
My name is Anthony Gadonde. I'm the speaker for this county assembly. And I've decided to do the meeting, though I was not invited.
You are in the rightful place. Next member.
Good morning, Senators. My name is David Madenge. I'm the chairman of Budget and Appropriations Committee.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Good morning, Senators. My name is Kanga Baptist. I'm the chair of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. But in this particular meeting, representing Ware West County.
Thank you. Any other member?
Hello. Hello. Yeah. Morning, Senators. I'm Honorable Gatson, Commissioner. Where is
Mheshimiwa Mushina, we could not hear you, so you'll adjust your microphone. We heard you faintly, but you don't have to repeat your introduction. But just do something about your microphone. Next member.
here? Morning, Honorable Senators. I'm Waiguru, Speaker. This meeting of this sub-council of
Chairman, we can't hear nothing.
Chair, point of order. We are unable to hear clearly.
The last member who introduced himself after Honorable Mushira, please just be a bit low.
The Deputy Speaker. The meeting
What I heard is that is a Deputy Speaker.
Yes, I'm the Deputy Speaker.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Speaker. Do something about your microphone so that when you're commenting as the meeting goes on, we don't have to keep asking you to repeat yourself.
Okay.
Next member.
Morning, Senators. My name is before I order this meeting.
Honorable members, you seem like you are in the same room. Is that?
Boardroom.
Yes, you could ask your Hansard people to help you to make sure that you are audible. Let's proceed. Next member present.
That's all. Those are
Mbea, ayo isongo. Ona.
Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I think all the members have introduced themselves. And I would wish to have a little bit of opening remarks, Mr. Chair, if you allow.
Chair, if I may, I think that all the members are in one room and they all have their mics on. If they can just turn off all their mics to avoid the echoes that we're hearing.
Okay, Majority Leader, you can guide us so that we have an orderly meeting. I know the members of the press are here, and I know that some of them have been attempting to stream this online. But when you keep saying we can't hear you, then it messes up the quality of the deliberation. So everybody, wherever you are, mute when you're not speaking. And when you're speaking, please speak to the microphone. But because the Leader of Majority has confirmed that all members have gone on record, I think let's proceed so that we are not spending too much time on introductions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's now go straight to the agenda and the main business for today. By way of history, on the 10th of July 2020, the Senate received a letter from the governor of Kirinyaga County. In the letter, the governor raised certain issues which she felt were affecting the conclusion of the budget process in Kirinyaga County. She subsequently prayed that the Senate comes in between to help mediate between the Assembly and the Executive and to ensure that Kirinyaga has a budget that is lawful and a budget that will serve the interest of the people of Kirinyaga. Yesterday, we had a session with the governor of Kirinyaga, and we had thought the Assembly would join us, but the Assembly had sent a letter requesting for a later date. In view of the criticality of the issues we are discussing, we took a resolution yesterday to hear the executive yesterday and to hear the Assembly today. I'm glad that the Assembly has presented itself, and Honorable Majority Leader, Honorable Speaker, and all your members, the Senate appreciates that within a short time you are able to meet us. I also take note, I spoke with the Majority Leader yesterday. He explained to me he had some personal commitments, and I wish him a quick recovery. I wish him well. And I appreciate the fact that he set aside all his personal commitments to come and have this conversation with the Senate. From yesterday's conversation, the governor took us through the issues that she thought were irregular in the budget that the Assembly has approved. It would be important for us to lay a few issues, because in my conversation with the majority leader, there was a feeling that yesterday we made resolutions. We did not make any resolutions yesterday. Our intention yesterday was to first hear the governor, because she's the one who sought the intervention of the Senate. The governor presented a case. The controller of budget provided her technical and legal view on the issues raised by the governor. It is important that we hear the county assembly before we attempt to come up with any conclusions or any way forward. I know there could have been some reports in the media that certain positions were taken. Let me assure the assembly that we cannot take positions until we have heard you. The role we are taking is part of our mandate as Senate to ensure the interests of counties and their governments are safeguarded. We believe that if there's a problem that affects budget implementation in Kirinyaga, the people who will suffer will be the residents of Kirinyaga. But more so, as a Senate, we exist to defend the interests of counties and their governments. We represent the interests of the county assembly as much as we represent that of the executive. So we will not take one position. We will not tilt to the executive at the expense of the assembly. Majority Leader, I must also mention this because we had a very good conversation yesterday. And I know that there were concerns that even the Senate, even the membership of the Senate committee could be comprised of persons who are involved in another matter concerning Kirinyaga, that is the impeachment. I want to assure you that when you see leadership of the Senate, persons like Murkomen and several other members who are present today, that this devolution committee is not driven or influenced or affected by the politics that goes on outside the Senate. And I want to assure you that we are approaching this task with utmost good faith and hoping that we'll be able to do service to the people of Kirinyaga. The solutions we'll arrive at will not be Senate solutions. They'll be solutions driven by you and the executive. And so with that introduction, let me assure the Assembly that we are not here to assign blame or to point fingers or to define culpability. We are here to find a solution. There will be short-term solutions. And in our view, the short-term solutions are those aimed at ensuring continuity of services and establishment of a conducive environment between the county assembly and the executive. There are long-term solutions, and some of those solutions have been before Senate for a long time. Amendment to the PFM Act to give the assembly more power in budget, amendment of the County Governments Act, and even amendment of the Constitution itself. Senator Kipchumba Murkomen and others who are in the last parliament came up with several amendments that some of which have not seen the light of day. And this would be an opportunity for us to push for them to ensure that we don't get into these situations in future. Senate and the Assembly are joined at the hip. There are very few things you'll do without involving the Senate. If it is an impeachment, you need to work with the Senate. If it is dissolution, you need to work with the Senate. If it is allocation of resources, you need to work with the Senate. So I want to beg the County Assembly that when you come before us, you are coming before an institution that considers itself a friend to the people of Kirinyaga and a friend to the County Assembly. Let me now request the Assembly to make a presentation, which I hope can take about 45 minutes or less. Majority Leader, you will organize your team on who presents, but along the following guidelines. Number one, please give us a chronology of events. Just give us a background, because budget making is a process, starting from the annual development plan, to the budget review and outlook paper, to the fiscal strategy paper, to the budget estimates, to the appropriations bill, and memorandum that is currently a bone of contention. You can give us a brief background on how you are involved in those processes. And then secondly, we will request that you respond to the issues raised by the governor. Our clerk shared the governor's letter. And if possible, you could respond to the specific issues. If not, you can broadly, respond. And then finally, I hope in your submission, you will attempt to provide some way forward out of the situation that we are in. So with that guidance, Mheshimiwa Murango, either you or the speaker, I don't know how you organize yourselves, within the next 30, 45 minutes, the floor is yours. We can hear you. Majority Leader, you are muted. We can't.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think I can make a bit of representation before we go to the technical part of it, if you allow.
Proceed, Majority Leader. The floor is yours.
Honorable Chairperson, honorable members of the Committee of Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations, honorable senators, I would like to submit the following on behalf of the County Assembly of Kirinyaga. One, the County Assembly of Kirinyaga is established by Article 176(1) of the Constitution of Kenya, Article 185(1) of the Constitution, which vests the legislative authority of the county in the County Assembly. This constitutional provision further directs that the legislative authority of the county shall be exercised by the County Assembly. The matter that this committee has been invited to intervene is a legislative matter that falls within the legislative authority of the County Assembly of Kirinyaga. In this regard, it is our humble view that it must be understood that no other institution or office can exercise the legislative authority of the County Assembly of Kirinyaga. Honorable Senators, in inviting the intervention of the Senate, the Governor of Kirinyaga County relied on Article 96(1) of the role of representing the counties and serving to protect the interests of the counties and their governments. Honorable Senators, the cited constitutional provision does not assign the Senate the role of director supervising the legislative authority of the County Assembly under Article 185 of the Constitution. Further, the same constitutional provision does not place an obligation on the County Assembly to defend or justify its legislative actions before the Senate. In these premises, we can only interpret the role of the Senate in this matter as playing the role of a mediator. In this regard, we also consider the purpose of today's meetings to be a mediatory meeting. We further recognize the good offices of this committee and the Senate and the ability to mediate in this matter. Honorable Senators, it is important that this committee and honorable senators understands the conduct and the attitude of the governor towards the legislative authority of the County Assembly. This governor operates under the belief that the role of the County Assembly is to approve whatever it receives from the county executive, that the County Assembly should pass everything without consideration and necessary amendment. If the County Assembly was to operate in the manner aforesaid, not only would it be acting as a mere rubber stamp, but it would also be failing to discharge its constitutional mandate. Further, this governor has on previous occasions refused to either assent or refer bills back to the County Assembly as required by Section 24 of the County Government Acts. For instance, on 4th March 2019, the Speaker of the County Assembly forwarded Kirinyaga County Corporate Brings Control Amendment Bill 2019 to the governor, and on 9th of July 2019, the Speaker forwarded to the governor the Kirinyaga County Flags and Other Symbols Bill 2019 to the governor. The governor neither assented to this bill nor referred them to the County Assembly with a memorandum. This, in our considered view, demonstrates the contempt with which this governor holds the legislative authority of the County Assembly. And I will also say something regarding the current dispute regarding the Kirinyaga County Appropriation Act 2020 and the Kirinyaga County Supplemental Appropriation Number 2 Act 2020. Honorable Senators, as earlier stated, we consider the proceedings today as those of mediation. the governor has initiated these mediation proceedings. This negotiation, just like any other negotiation, must happen within the prevailing legal context, and solution emanating therefrom must be legally tenable. In this regard, we would like to bring the attention of honorable senators the following pertinent issues. Firstly, the governor is not seeking the intervention of the Senate in good faith. This is demonstrated by the fact that she has clearly sued the county assembly in 2 different high court stations and obtained interim conservatory orders on the subject matter, which she invited the Senate to intervene on. Secondly, honorable senators, pursuant to section 21(1) of the County Governments Act, legislative power of the county assembly is exercised through bills passed by the county assembly and assented to by the governor. The process of exercising this legislative power is outlined in the County Government Acts for Kirinyaga County Appropriation Act 2020 and the Kirinyaga County Supplementary Appropriation number 2 Act 2020. The process has reached the stage where the pursuant section 24(5) of the County Government Act, assent by the governor, is mandatory. Further, the law does not allow the county assembly to consider second memorandum from the governor. In light of the foregoing, honorable senators, it means that the only recourse, if the governor and the county assembly were to reach any agreement for the negotiation, would be to amend the already passed appropriation bill using a supplementary appropriation law. This, honorable senators, cannot happen if the previous legislative process is not completed by assent and publication in the Kenyan Gazette. It is for this reason that we contend that the governor has not initiated this proceeding in good faith. Finally, honorable senators, as earlier stated, we recognize the good office and ability of this committee and the Senate to facilitate meaningful negotiation between the governor and the county assembly. However, such negotiation must be carried out in good faith. In this regard, and for any negotiation to proceed, we would demand the following. That the governor withdraws or causes the withdrawal of the 2 constitutional petitions filed at the High Court of Kenya in Kerugoya and the High Court of Kenya at Nairobi. B, the governor assents to and causes the publication in the Kenyan Gazette of the Kirinyaga County Supplementary Appropriation number 2 at 2020. C, the governor assents to the causes and causes the publication in the Kenyan Gazette of the Kirinyaga County Appropriation Act 2020. And E, that negotiation to address the governor's concerns should be carried out with the context of a proposed supplementary appropriation law after extensive negotiations and you're noting that our governor has become very litigious, and especially now that we have so many court cases which has been initiated by the governor. So that would be my summation for now as we go on, Senator. Thank you very much, but I'll also give an opportunity for Honorable Madenge, if you allow, to say something.
Majority Leader, we lost you at some point. I don't know whether I'm the only one who lost you. Where at the point where you are saying we are talking about appropriations, appropriation in 2020. I lost you at that point.
Hello?
Majority Leader, can you hear me?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Could you just go back, because
Yes.
I lost you when you're talking about the things that the governor should do, withdrawing the constitutional petitions, publication of supplementary appropriations bill, of appropriations bill 2020. Could I just request that you repeat all that entire phrase, what the governor should do, please?
Okay, I'll do that.
Proceed.
As earlier stated, we recognize the good offices and ability of this committee and the Senate to facilitate meaningful negotiation between the governor and the county assembly. However, such negotiation must be carried out in good faith. In this regard, and for any negotiation to proceed, we demand as follows. A, that the governor withdraws or causes the withdrawal of the 2 constitutional petitions filed at the High Court of Kenya in Kerugoya and the High Court of Kenya at Nairobi. 2, that the governor assents to and causes the publication in the Kenyan Gazette of the Kirinyaga County County as Supplemental Appropriation Number 2, Act 2020. 3, that the governor assent to and causes the publication in the Kenyan Gazette of the Kirinyaga County Appropriation Act 2020. And finally, that negotiations to address the governor's concern should be carried out within the context of a proposed supplementary appropriation law after extensive negotiation and concurrence with the County Assembly of Kirinyaga. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I think that's clear. You, who did you want to contribute further?
Honorable Madenge.
Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Chair Budget, I'll give the chronology of events that the Assembly followed when you're doing the budget estimates for the financial year 2020-2021.
Mheshimiwa Madenge, you are mute. Please unmute.
Okay. Chair, you can hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Mr. Chair, the budget circular was received in the County Assembly and it was approved on 20th February of 2020. After the budget circular was approved, we also received an annual development plan from the County Executive. And as guided by the PFM Section 126.1 and Article 222 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the County Assembly approved the ADP on 4th March 2020. On 28th, as guided by PFM Act Section 118, we also received County Budget Review and Outlook Paper, that is the CBROP, and the Assembly approved the CBROP on 27th February 2020. On 28th February 2020 this year, that is, the County Assembly received the County Fiscal Strategy Paper. The Fiscal Strategy Paper, as guided by the PFM Act Section 117, within 14 days was approved by the County Assembly with necessary amendments. It's also good to note that after the approval of the CFSP, Mr. Chair, the County Executive, headed by our governor, they published CFSP in the county websites, meaning there was no dispute regarding the CFSP that was approved by the County Assembly. Neither did this Assembly receive any complaints from the County Executive regarding the amendments as guided by the public participation that was done regarding the CFSP was either received by the clerk or the Speaker of the County Assembly. So that in essence means whatever recommendations that were contained in the CFSP was well agreed upon by both the Executive and the Assembly, and that one can be seen in the documents of the Assembly forwarded to the Senate in our letter that we did 2 days ago. Because if you allow me, Mr. Chair, in one of the complaints from our governor, she says that the provisions of Section 117 were not followed, but I can attest that we invited the CC member for finance, and we have a letter to that effect. It's good to mention, letter dated 6th March 2020, written to the CC Finance, Moses Migwi, on scrutiny of the County Fiscal Strategy Paper, CFSP 2020. This letter was received by the Executive, and I can assure you that the CC member came to the Assembly. He honored our request to appear before the committee, and in finalizing the recommendations, we did it together, and we have answered to that effect. Mr. Chair, the next bit was on 30th April, we also received budget estimates from the CC Finance. And you know, Mr. Chair, according to my budget chair teacher, who is Honorable Mbao, who is currently the CDF board chair, he taught me in the first regime that the budget estimate proposals are dead on arrival, and it's the assembly to maybe try to resuscitate it with consultations with the executive. But I can confirm, Mr. Chair, that the proposals from the county executive were not only dead, but they were already buried, Mr. Chair. And I will say this because whatever copy we received as a recurrent, as soft copy, and the hard copy, they were not the same, Mr. Chair. And you could see as some of the items are hidden in, and after consulting the CC, who was also called, and I can test, before we approved the budget, we also invited the CC member for finance to clarify on some issues. And Areta dated that year, sorry, I'll be giving you that invite letter, but I can confirm we also invited the CC member to this assembly, and we agreed upon. And it's also good to mention, Mr. Chair, the necessary provisions of the PFM were not followed, and that's the reason why we invited the CC member under a letter dated 13th May to come and try. That is the reference county budget estimates consultative meeting. We also invited all the CC members, and we have an annexure of our draft program with us here, and they all came. I can confirm this. And one of the reasons that we called the CC member for finance was to clarify why in the documentation that was supposed to be forwarded to the Budget and Appropriations Committee of the Assembly before finalizing on the budget estimates approval, Mr. Chair, he failed to deliver on one very key important bill, that is the appropriations bill draft that we were supposed to take to Kenya to the government printers for publishing after we are done with the budget process, Mr. Chair. And the CC member came and we agreed, and I can attest that we did the appropriations bill draft together in the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and the draft appropriations bill was taken to the government printers for publishing, and it was brought to the Assembly for the necessary action that we did take. Mr. Chair, after the CFSP and the budget estimates were approved, we were in copy of a letter from the Office of the Control of Budget, dated 10th June 2020, and I must attest that this letter also gave the necessary guidance to the Budget and Appropriations Committee in finalizing on our recommendations regarding the budget approval. Mr. Chair, that was approved on 30th June 2020. In the letter addressed to the governor, the Control of Budget raised a number of issues. And it's good to confirm, Mr. Chair, after this letter was done on 10 June 2020, the governor chose to wait for a month so that she can reply to the Control of Budget. So this clearly shows how governor treats in contempt not only the county assembly but also the holders of other offices, Mr. Speaker, because Mr. Chair, because the Budget and Appropriations Committee did our reply on 30th June to the Office of the Control of Budget. And mind you, this data was not addressed to the county assembly. It was rather a copy to the assembly. Mr. Chair, in that letter to the Control of Budget, she had raised a number of issues, and one of them is on program-based budget. It's good to tell the committee that our governor, who tells us that she's a PFM expert, failed totally to comply to the provisions of the PFM regarding the program-based budget, and she decided to bring to the assembly an itemized line budget. What other options did we have? We were guided by that letter from the Controller of Budget, to write recommendations to the governor to comply to the necessary provisions of the law. Mr. Chair, again in the letter from the controller, and I'm saying this because you'll see in our reports regarding the budget estimates and also the memorandum that was brought by the governor here, the same comments, the same observations, recommendations from the control budget. It's as if we are working for the same office, because the recommendations from the controller and the recommendations from the budget and appropriations committee, they are more or less similar, Mr. Chair. In that letter also, there was another amount on Kenya Devolution Support Program that never was in the Kara bill that you're debating in the Senate, of amounting to 146 million shilling. The Assembly and the committee rejected the inclusion of the above in the budget, awaiting clarity as entrenched in the County Allocation of Revenue Act that you'll be approving very soon, Mr. Chair. And you are ready to do a supplementary to maybe bring this forth if there is a formal communication that there is such an allocation in the Kara Act. Mr. Chair, on wage bill, the PFM work was very also clear, and I'm not trying to justify anything, but the letter done by the control budget on PFM, the governor failed to observe regulations 25(1) of the PFM, PFM management, that is on county government, regulations 2015, regarding the 35% on personnel emolument. You recall the governor decided to bring a budget estimates whose wage bill on personnel emoluments was 56.2. Mr. Chair, we had to do something, and that's what exactly we did to comply to the CFSP that was approved. Mr. Chair, it's also good to mention on NAGRIP allocations, we had there were supposed to be matching grants without any approval from the National Treasury, Mr. Chair. There was no documentation attached. On this one, we were also guided by the comments of the control budget, and we did the needful. Mr. Chair, as I wind up on the CFSP, Mr. Chair, we did the reprise, the necessary reprise to the controller. We approved the budget with amendments as guided by the PFM Act 131, Mr. Chair. We also did public participation. After we approved this budget on 30th June, the speaker took 2 days. It was the veram copy was taken to the governor for accent. Little did we know that she was not going to accent to the approved budget. And for that reason, the act is also very clear. We were supposed to do maybe a vote on account by 1st of July. This never happened because we thought the governor was going to accent the approved budget veram copy that was prepared for her to do it, because we followed the due procedures, the guidance given by the PFM Act and also the regulations of 2015. Surprisingly, after some 4 days, the governor brought a memorandum to the county assembly, and notwithstanding, the first time we saw the PBB, that is the program-based draft budget, was when she wrote the control budget, and we are just copied as an assembly. Shows she's not ready to maybe work with the assembly. She's not also considering our oversight role and legislative role of the assembly, because she's in total contempt of whatever work we do as an assembly, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the memorandum was defeated by a vote of 25 members out of 33. Only 1 member voted for the memorandum. The others abstained, Mr. Chair. And maybe that's the chronology of events, but I can tell you for free, after the governor was impeached and brought to the Senate, she vowed that she must revenge and she'll make sure that we are also taken to Senate. I think that's the reason why I'm seeing myself under such forum today. And Mr. Chair, I can tell you, we were guided fully by the provisions. And I would ask one of my colleagues also to maybe mention a word or two as we give it back to Majority Leader. Mheshimiwa Wangoi.
Mheshimiwa Madenge, before we go to Mheshimiwa Wangoi, are you getting me? Chair Budget?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, first of all, coming before Senate for members of County Assembly should not inspire any fear, because we have got no power to impeach you. So feel very much at home. I just wanted, before you hand over, this meeting of 30th May, the county budget consultative meeting, did members of the CEC attend?
Yes, they all came. We have letters, we have answered, they were all present.
They were present?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Chair.
Yes.
Senator Malala, Deputy Minority Leader, welcome to the meeting.
Chair, I want to register my presence. I'm glad to be here. This is Senator Malala.
Thank you, Senator Karibu.
I'm also here, Chair, earlier than Senator Malala.
Senator Isaac Mwaura, former Vice Chair of the Finance Committee. We need your skills and experience in this subject. Equally, Senator, as a leader in the House, we need your experience and wisdom.
Chair.
Senator.
Chair.
Senator Kibiru, proceed.
Yeah, when the chair for budget, Honorable Madengo was presenting, there's something you mentioned about a soft and hard copy document that were contradicting each other.
Yes.
Can you clarify that before you move so that I don't lose the thought?
Please, Chair.
Mr. Chair, through the chair, it's true that the budget estimates that was tabled to the Assembly, that is the hard copies, were not similar with whatever budget estimates that was sent as soft copy. There was a total, there was a contradiction, Mr. Chair. That one I can confirm.
Okay.
And we had to invite the CC member to tell us which one to follow. And that one.
So did you resolve that?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Kibiru. Members, do we allow the next honorable member to present?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so to conclude.
Proceed.
So, thank you, Chair. I want to make my submission on the exercise of the Senate. A very positive engagement that is taking place between the Senate and the County Assembly. Chair, I want to start by saying that the County Assembly and more so the County Assembly of Kirinyaga has been treated with contempt. And in that statement, Chair, members of the County Assembly, the governor want to treat them with rubber stamp. And it is in various communication and the press releases that the governor has made that she has demonstrated that she treats us as petty, frivolous, and members of the County Assembly who do not understand their responsibility, do not understand the law, do not understand the Constitution. Therefore, Chair, I feel that what you are being invited for is an exercise that in her own perception or in her own opinion is to despise and treat members of the County Assembly of Kirinyaga with a lot of negativity. Chair, I would say that the budget process should be a negotiated process, a process that should involve all the parties, including the Budget Economic Forum, Chair. And in that regard, Chair, it is on record. The answer is there to confirm this, that the members of the County Executive Committee, in various appearances in the County Assembly, they confirm to us that they are not consulted, they are not involved in the budget making exercise. Chair, the Budget Economic Forum that is established, that is there in Kirinyaga County, they have also written to us as the County Assembly of Kirinyaga, confirming that they are not involved, they are not consulted in the budget making process. Therefore, I would want to say that without fear, that Chair, the document that was presented to the County Assembly of Kirinyaga was a one-woman show. It is a document that was produced and prepared by only one person. Here, like the Chair budget has said, that the budget that was submitted to the County Assembly failed to adhere to the minimum requirements of the 30% development and 70% current. What was brought to the County Assembly of Kirinyaga was a budget that had 19% development and 81% recurrent. Chair, it would have defeated sense if we as the members of the County Assembly, aware and informed of the illegality in that budget, would have proceeded to pass the same budget. Number two, Chair, we have the letter from the Controller of Budget listing the various issues that are in that in the estimate that was submitted to the County Assembly. It would also have defeated sense if Chair would have proceeded as the members of the County Assembly ignore the communication from a constitutionally established office and ignore the communication. Chair, there are various issues that the governor raised, especially the conditional grants. Chair, I want to point out on one specific one, that is the Kenya Road Board Fund. Since the inception of the county government, Chair, this fund has always been there, and in our various budget that can be confirmed, we have always itemized and done the allocation of the monies to the ones. We don't understand why this time round the governor would want a broad figure that should control in any way she would want. And Chair, I would pray that in future you also find time to come to the ground and actually witness some of these things as we do them to itemize the budgetary allocation is due to the fact that even in development in our county, they are skewed. They are done in favor of who is dancing to the tune of the government. Chair, I would finally want to state that on conditional grants, the control of budget raised issues on the fact that there was no geographical location on the various projects that were to be implemented. The governor raised the fact that there are work plans, and this being conditional grant, the work plans ought to have been submitted prior to the budget testing, which did not happen. Therefore, Chair, we as the members of the County Assembly, we only arrived the budget to conform to the law and the legal requirements. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chair, as I give majority leader, it's also good to confirm on one issue regarding the health staff details. This assembly is in receipt of a letter from the Department of Health, was received in the assembly on that June, dated 2nd June 2020. And this was presented by the CC in charge of health herself when she was invited in the budget consultative meeting. This letter, you can find it in the documents that we prepared for you in the response regarding the report consideration of the governor's memorandum. This was brought to the Senate. That letter, Mr. Chair, clearly tells the Assembly, which is the oversight body, that these are summary report on retirement, resignation, transfer out of, and deceased. This letter is from a CC member, and I heard the governor state that the Assembly removed money meant for paying the health workers, which was totally not true. This letter tells the Assembly that they are saving 194 million shilling, and the CC member is also on Hansard, telling the County Assembly members that they are also going to further save an extra 110 million shilling because they employed new employees, that is the nurses, the COs, and new cadres and job groups, because they dismissed the area ones who are paid very high, but because of that reason, they were going to save 301 million shilling. But reasoning to our governor, do her politics, she says the Assembly removed money for paying employees. And not forgetting, we've requested on a number of times we have letters to that effect. We also give these letters to the Senate. Staff audit reports, not once. When we did CBROP, we requested for such. When we did ADP, CFSP, budget approvals, we've always requested for this staff audit. It's never forthcoming. And for that reason, and these letters that were guiding the members, we did our budget. And Mr. Chair, I beg to leave it at that and give majority leader a chance maybe. Thank you.
Majority leader, the ball is back in your court.
Honorable Chair, I think in our midst, we have also of the Speaker and another 2 members. And I think the Speaker being the head of the Assembly, it would be also important if we can hear something from the Speaker and also from Honorable Kanga and Ganson, if you allow, Mr. Chair.
That's very much in order, because part of the allegations are that the Assembly allocated itself more than it should. And I know the Speaker is the chair of the County Assembly Service Board, so he can make his submission and also address that particular matter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I would wish to reiterate on a few issues that have brought us to where we are. And I think of importance is that we need to appreciate the fact that consultations are very important between the county executive and the county assembly. And that's a major issue that has really been a handicap for this assembly. There's this issue raised that we allocated ourselves more than we deserve. But I think the county assembly has the prerogative to do their own budget. And specifically when the County Public Service Board sits,
Did we lose Mr. Speaker? Majority leader, find the Speaker and bring him back. Majority leader?
Yes, Chair. I think the Speaker is being sorted. In a second, I think he will be able to make his representation.
Chair, I'm back. I seem to have lost my link. I was saying on the issue of the assumption that the assembly allocated itself more money than they deserve. When the County Public Service Board sits, it develops a budget that emanates from the proposals from the members of the County Assembly and from the various committees. And I would wish to know why, or the assumption that we are being told that we allocate ourselves more money than we deserve, because these are the priorities. There is a ceiling basically that guides how much the assembly should get, but we cannot be dictated on which projects we finance as an assembly. Because remember, again, the county assembly undertakes its own public participation within the wards, and it's from that public participation that they prioritize their projects. The only issue here would be whether we are within our ceiling or not. And again, the matters of CFSP have been emphasized by the chair budget. So I don't know whether that's clear for you, but for me, I feel the assembly allocated itself development funds and the current funds that are within our ceilings. But we've realized also from the executive side that they even want to guide us on which projects we implement, which I feel is not right. And I think the issue today is on the merits of the budgets, not really on specific projects that the county assembly has allocated itself. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you,
Majority Leader.
Yes, Chair. Chair, I think I'll also say something here. And Honorable Chair, the representation that we have made and what we are making now, I think is because we respect and recognize the good office of the Senate. However, Chair, we want to also request that the governors should first meet the demands I had earlier stated. Then this committee will then call both parties for proper mediation. Because, Mr. Chair, as we talk, as we give our remarks and our contribution here, it still seems that the governor is hoping that he will not get the intended outcome, and that's why she has gone to court.
Majority.
Chair, we are losing the majority.
Majority.
Yes, I can hear you and get you clearly, Chair.
Before Chair. Majority, if you allow me.
Yes.
On issue of assembly allocating itself resources, it's good to confirm and tell the Senate committee that we are guided by the CARA bill that is approved by the Senate each and every year. The CARA bill told the Assembly that advised the Assembly that we should budget within the limits of 569 million shilling as recurrent expenditure as approved by the CRA. And this is the allocation that the governor proposed for Assembly in the CFSP herself, not the Assembly giving itself monies. The governor proposed 569 million shilling for the Assembly recurrent. Also in the budget estimates that the control of budget can attest, the same allocation was proposed for the Assembly recurrent expenditures. We never allocated ourselves money. And in the approved CFSP that we did together with the CC Finance, because the Hansard is there, and we agreed, because at that time I believe we were in very good terms with the governor. I don't know what happened. We agreed that the Assembly was to be allocated 780 million shilling for development expenditures of the Assembly. This was agreed. There was no complaint from the governor, neither was there a complaint from the CC Finance. We agreed, we did it together. And after that, actually, because of this COVID issue, we agreed as an Assembly and also the budget committee, we were not going to allocate the count, we were not going to propose the same figures for the County Assembly Service Board. We actually gave them 630 million shilling. And you can see clearly that from the earlier proposal of 780, the County Assembly Service Board got 630, meaning there was a reduction in the ceiling that was approved in the CFSP. And this was explained to the forwarding letters of the same to the control of budget, the reasons why the Assembly was not going to be recommended to get the entire proposal as approved in the CFSP because of that issue. Thank you, Majority.
Okay, we are back to the Majority Leader.
I think I'll handle this round back to you, Mr. Chair, so that you can give directions. Well, also regarding what you have our demands, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Leader of Majority, and all the honorable members who have made submissions, including the Speaker. Just some observations. I want to appreciate your thoroughness in undertaking the budget process, because budgeting is not an event, it is a process. And the Chair Budget Committee, I am quite impressed with your grasp of the process. Secondly, I want to assure the Majority Leader that our duty today is not really to supervise or to direct the Assembly. Our duty today is more of advisory and making sure that we work together to find a solution that will benefit the people of Kirinyaga. So as you rightly stated, what the Senate is doing today is a mediation exercise. And in mediation, good faith is extremely important. I am very happy, members of the Assembly, that you have come with proposed solutions. And I think you have made very practical, very pragmatic solutions, which if both sides are willing to give and take, will be able to get a way out of this impasse. I'm going to ask my members and other senators to comment, but before we go to the Senate, Dr. Nyakango, you have listened to the County Assembly and you have heard their views. Yes. They have outlined the extent to which the county executive was involved in the process. They have talked about the fiscal strategy paper, the views that you raised on that fiscal strategy paper, and they've given us a fairly good chronology. We agreed yesterday that you give us your technical input and advice on that process, tailored at a solution, not purposely to lay blame, but to find a solution. So Dr. May I give you an opportunity to on the submission by the County Assembly?
Thank you very much, Chairman. And thank you all the other members who are in this meeting. It is my pleasure now to comment on some of the things that I have heard from the County Assembly. First and foremost, to thank them very much for appreciating the work of my office.
Chair, we are not, Chair.
Are you getting me?
Senator Murkomen.
Hello, Chair.
Yes, Senator Murkomen.
Point of order, Chair.
Yes, proceed, Senator Murkomen. Senator Murkomen, the floor is yours. We could have lost him.
So what do we do, Chair?
Control of budget proceed. Senator Murkomen, you may proceed.
Am I the only one who does it, who is not getting, or is the problem mine or on the other side?
We seem to be generally fine. You are not getting the control of budget clearly?
Yeah, I wasn't getting her. Maybe it's, I don't know if it's my internet or hers. If I'm the only one, then it's mine.
Okay, we can...
but you don't have to...
Let's request the control of budget to be a little bit loud and do whatever is necessary to reach Elgeyo Marakwet.
Chair.
Senator Malala?
Kindly advise Senator Murkomen to stop shouting. Some of us are using earphones, and he's really interfering with our eardrums.
Senator Malala, you know you are Murkomen's captain in the football field, so you can drop him a text to control his destiny. But
well advised, Chair.
Point noted. Let's proceed.
Well advised.
Thank you, Chair. Can I proceed?
Yes, Dr. Ari.
Okay, thank you very much once again to all those who are listening to me. I would like to appreciate the County Assembly of Kirinyaga in particular and say that their assessment of the letter that we wrote to the county of Kirinyaga is quite accurate, Chairman. And also, right on the outset, to say that it is true that we wrote on the 10th of June 2020, but did not receive the response until the 10th of July. And perhaps a lot of things that should have been cured in the interim were not cured in good time. Now, if you allow me, Chair, I'll go to the point-by-point analysis of the response that we got from the County Assembly of Kirinyaga, so that we address each of the issues that had been raised. One is the response timelines, as I've commented. They have stated that part of what they did was as a result of the delay in responses from the county executive. I totally agree with that. On the program-based budget, it is true, both in the letter that we wrote and their comment, that the program-based budget was not included, it was not submitted with the itemized budget of 30th April 2020. We have since received this itemized budget. Going forward, we recommend that the county executive submits this program-based budget officially to the county assembly so that they can receive it and review it in line with the other comments that are being given. On the KDSP Level 2 grant, this is a grant as indicated by the chairman budget that was not provided for in the county allocation of revenue bill. Now, they have agreed that this could be included during the supplementary budget, and I agree with them. We queried this as well because we compare these documents very closely, and in the event that there isn't enough information, which we would have been told by the governor, this can be done later through the supplementary. On the wage bill, Mr. Chairman, the county assembly did note very well that the county has been having an increasing wage bill over the years, and yet the CECM has failed to set the limit as per the law. Yesterday we discussed this, and we got from the governor's memorandum that they are doing something, reducing the recruitment and also freezing certain positions. But I would like to agree with the county assembly from their response that this is a matter that needs to be addressed. They did ask for a staff audit, which has yet to be done. And I believe, from where I sit, that the way forward for the wage bill is to have a staff audit, which will then establish if there are positions that are superfluous and how then the action to space out the reduction will be done by the assembly, by the executive. We also looked at the project geographical locations, which was also, which was both in my report and which has been touched on by the county assembly. And in the response that we have now received from the governor, she has indicated that this has been done. However, this response was not with us before, which has correctly been pointed out by the county assembly. So we are then recommending that the county assembly needs to consult with the executive in terms of itemizing the ward-based projects. There was a point on the matching of conditional grants and county contribution, and the assembly states that these were expunged from the budget because they were not in the CAB 2020, that is the county allocation of revenue bill. The executive has stated that these matching contributions are required for them to access the conditional grants. Chairman, this is true, and as per the clarification from the executive, they have clearly indicated in the memorandum that they are acting in accordance with the PFM Act, which is true, that for them to access these grants, they need to have budgeted for their contribution. So again, this is a matter that can be discussed and agreed between the Assembly and the Executive. On the national and rural agricultural inclusive growth, this is also one of the conditional grants. This was a major concern to my office, and we had requested the CECM Finance and Planning to provide the itemized schedules for the conditional grants. Again, due to the delay in giving the response, the Assembly went ahead and made amendments on this, but what they did was not right. They reallocated the matching contribution of 96 million to what they have called the other needy areas. However, this is not correct and needs to be redone. The county executive has since provided clarity in the governor's memorandum, and indeed, it is in accordance with the PFM Act. On the road maintenance levy fund, the county executive had failed to itemize this allocation in the budgeted, in the submitted budget. In the approved budget, however, the Assembly has gone ahead to itemize this grant, and this likewise was a major point of concern in my letter of 10th June to the county. However, the Assembly has indicated that since they didn't get a response, they went ahead and made changes to the same grant. We recommend that the county executive should provide infrastructure projects to be implemented through the RMLF in accordance to the Kenya Roads Board guidelines. This should cure that particular misunderstanding. On fiscal responsibility, the County Assembly has emphasized the need to enforce fiscal responsibility as set out in the PFM Act, Section 107(2)(b). Now, this is because the budget submitted to the county executive was at 18.9%, as pointed out in my letter. The decision to reallocate, however, should have been discussed and agreed between the two parties, that is the Assembly and the Executive. The budget approved by the County Assembly does meet the threshold as expected. However, the Executive has indicated that there was no consultation in terms of the priority areas of development that were to be funded. On the pending bills, Mr. Chairman, the Assembly had moved to remove the entire pending bills of 30 million because they felt that the county executive had failed to furnish the list of pending bills. This was exhaustively addressed through the governor's memorandum, but again, Mr. Chairman, it arrived too late. The County Assembly has indicated that their recurrent expenditure as set out by the CRB 2020 also gives a ceiling to the county executive and assembly expenditure. They have therefore argued that the development of 631, which they reallocated to the assembly, is less than the approved CFSP ceiling. However, in as much as the county assembly would like to construct administration offices, Mr. Chairman, we feel that this should be in a phased manner, as then it will enable funds to be freed up for other urgent county services. Rather than doing it all at once, this could be spaced out. It is not bad to put up offices, but again, this could be done, say, over 3 years. On the rollover projects, the County Assembly indicated that the county executive had failed to provide information on the rolled over projects, and that is why they had gone ahead to remove this particular aspect. Currently, the county assembly has committed to include these figures once they get the information provided. I am informed now from my office that the full information on the rolled over projects is available, and this is something that should be non-contentious. And this figure, a figure I've been given of 901.365 million is actually a source of revenue to the county, because these are unspent funds that can still be spent on the projects that were initially meant for this money. The executive has a total of 790.5 million, while the assembly also has a carry forward of 110.8 million. So this is a quick win, Chairman, because this is something that can just be incorporated in the budget. Another thing I would like to comment from my office here is the observation on the chronology of the major events in the budget estimates to date. I listened to the chairman budget, and the fact that when the budget estimates were submitted to the assembly, it is only the itemized budget that had been submitted. This, Chairman, may have created part of the problems that we have right now. The recommendation from my office is that the executive really needs to work with the timelines that have been provided for budget preparation, while ensuring that they provide sufficient information both to the assembly and to my office, because we are all bound by this, the budget calendar. Chairman, if I may comment briefly, yesterday, my position on whether the county assembly had a right to make amendments. I think I still stand by my position that if the county assembly was unhappy with the figures, they needed to have asked the executive to make the corrections before the final budget was approved. Because indeed, and I quoted the part of the PFM, which clearly indicates that in the event, we are looking at section 129(7) of the PFM Act, which provides that upon approval of the budget estimates by the county assembly, the county executive member for finance shall prepare and submit a county appropriation bill to the county assembly of the approved estimates. So I was a bit confused when the chair of budget was saying that when they did not receive the responses, they went ahead and made the amendments, as this clearly is not within the PFM Act. Chairman, I would like to stop there so that I allow anybody who has a comment or perhaps a question to raise to me.
Dr. thank you. Before you exit,
Yes.
let me just ask this question. If the assembly, the budget committee, sat with the CECs, because the chair of budget committee says that on 13th May, they had a county budget consultative meeting. And he also says that the CEC appeared before the county assembly on the CFSP. If the amendments are done between the assembly and the CEC, and there's mutual agreement, how does the 1% apply in that case?
Okay, the 1% is actually is compared against the ceilings, but I guess the two sides would then agree on how to move the funds around and ensure that they are within the 1%. I don't think the 1% is cast in stone, because I've seen other counties where they have actually moved the funds around in line with any new information that may have been received. The problem here seems to be that the executive withheld certain information from the assembly. And so decisions were made. Probably these percentages were also flouted as a result of missing information.
Thank you, Controller. Honorable members, may I open the floor for any queries on the submission of the Assembly and the budget? And County Assembly, if you have any questions for the Controller,
Yes.
let me know before
Chair.
the Senate floor.
Chair.
Senator Malala.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, yesterday
I think in my view, we should give the opportunity, first of all, to the County Assembly to make any, to ask for any clarifications or comments on the controller of budget. Then now the Senate can come in.
I second, Chair, I second.
Thank you, Senator Nyamunga. Senator Malala?
It is okay. It is okay, I agree.
Okay, thank you. Assembly.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Chair, budget.
For going by what the control of budget has said, I would wish to share some rights. And the first item is on the matching grant. I want to confirm, in the consultative meeting that was held in the Assembly, there is a CC Agriculture in charge for that department. It's on Hansard, Mr. Chair. The CC came, and it's on record. She told the County Assembly members that they don't require any amounts as matching grants in the budget. That's not the members who decided. It's the CC Agriculture. And also I would wish maybe the control of budget tells the committee to confirm whether the governor has also given evidence from donors project operations manual on the matching grant, because up to this point, Mr. Chair, we've not received any documentation telling us that we need this matching grant, because we don't trust the executive very much that will one day sit and agree to approve 96 million shilling without due documents being tabled to the County Assembly. The other issue, Mr. Chair, is the control budget, maybe to tell the committee whether the budget estimates conformed to the CFSP that was approved and published in the county website as required by the PFM regulations. The other item that the control budget has mentioned is on pending bills. This issue, Mr. Chair, I would wish the controller tells the committee whether it's possible for a county assembly to roll over funds in the recurrent expenditure as pending bills to pay the lawyers and the others. Because in the budget estimates that was brought to the county assembly, we had two votes regarding the pending bills. One was under the development, that is an allocation of 70 million. That was never touched. We did roll over the entire 70 million in the budget. But there was another conspicuous allocation of 30 million for lawyers, and we totally refused to roll over monies in the recurrent expenditure. Mr. Chair, on offices, I've said, maybe we were on honeymoon those times. We agreed with the governor when she came that we were to finish constructing her county headquarters offices at Kutus. We did allocate 96 million under the pending bills to clear the bills for the contractors who are doing that building. We also agreed with the governor to do ward offices for her ward administrators. And we also agreed that in the financial year 2020-2021, the offices for members of the county assembly, where the Wanjiku can find them, will be done. And this was agreed when we are doing the CFSP, which was done in the presence of the CC member for finance, in agreement with our boss. So maybe on that one, we agree. We had agreed with the governor on the procedures to follow. We waited for 2 years and we agreed when we were to do these offices. Why now? On low road over projects, Mr. Chair, there is a document we requested, that is the system warrant register. We also requested for cash books for both the manual and system. These were not forthcoming. And we needed to ascertain truly that on rollover funds, maybe whatever appropriations we did earlier in the financial year 2018-19 and 19-20 is the same expenditures the county governor maybe expended on. We needed these IFMIS reports. Why was it a big deal to just bring the copies to the assembly? We agree. We never did our budget on our own. And maybe the controller can tell us, because on section PFM Act 129.7 on appropriations, on this one I said once again, and I wish the CC member for finance is here with us, we did the appropriations together. And in the appropriations bill, remember, it's the chair budget who is supposed to sign for it to be taken to the government printers for publishing. This is arrow. And all along, Mr. Chair, I need also maybe the controller can ask the executive whether there was one financial year that the CC member did the appropriations bill on his own. We've always been doing it together because in the budget process, we've always called them for consultative meetings where we agree on issues and prepare the appropriations bill together, and we take it to the government printers, it's published, we bring it to the assembly, we adopt it, after the first, second, and third reading, Mr. Chair. And also maybe she can confirm whether the PFM Act on that one, the committee, and also the members of the county assembly has an obligation in making any amendments on, and also what that PFM provisions mean. Another issue, Mr. Chair, that is not being brought forth is an allocation of 58 million shilling for KRA dues. Is it procedural for the assembly to give allocations for monies to pay KRA? There is no project, there is no nothing, just a figure, 58 million. Where did they take the monies that they cut the withholding tax to? The pay as you earn cut from the employees of the county. Now maybe they've misappropriated funds there and they want the assembly to assist them. Mr. Chair, I think with that, I want to confirm we followed the due procedures and we stand guided by the control of budget, and we never made our budget on our own. Even the rule of 1% never applied in our case, because what we did is the budget estimate. It never conformed to the CFSP that was done in the presence and in agreement of the governor and the CC member for finance. This is what we did together and agreed we have to follow the CFSP, not unless whatever recommendations the CFSP are not binding. That's what we did, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Malenge. Could I?
Chair.
That's Senator Kabaka?
Yes, before I ask my question. Hello, Chair?
Yes, Senator.
An area which I thought Mr. Honorable Muya would ask clarification from the controller on budget is also on the issue where she cited section 129, subsection 7 of PFM Act, on the issue of the preparation of the budget for approval, the time limit within which the executive is supposed to present the budget, and what happened where the executive doesn't, present the budget within the time limit. Does that inhibit the county assembly, to sit, put and do nothing? Anyway, That is now the reaction which I may have listed Mr. Muya. Otherwise, everything he said is fantastic.
Okay, thank you, Senator Kabaka. Controller of Budget, you may respond unless the Assembly has additional issues, but I thought the Chair of Budget had made a very detailed intervention.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we don't have, but also the controller is quoting section 129.7.
Yes.
And this goes with also the PFM 129.1, which states that in the budget estimates and the county executive committee member for finance it's a must actually submit to the county executive committee for the approval the budget estimates and other documents supporting the budget, excluding the county and the draft bills. What are these draft bills if not the appropriations bill? Did the CC member for finance submit this appropriation bill during the time when he was submitting the budget estimates? The answer is no. That's the reason why we called him. We do it together with him because there is no room in the PFM that allows, after the budget estimate is tabled to the assembly, is taken back to the executive for amending or doing anything. The only room that is there is calling them in the assembly. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Control of Budget, please respond. And I think it would serve all of us to remember that the Control of Budget is providing technical advice and is not out to assign blame or responsibility, because we need a technical expertise to unlock the issues that are before us. So, Dr.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair.
Proceed in an advisory manner. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much also, Chair of Budget, for those issues that have been very well articulated. Now, I am still looking for the matching grants, so you will indulge me on this one. I'll come back to you with why we need the matching grants. We know how the conditional grants operate, but we need to get the basis for the contribution from the county. Are we okay?
Yes.
Now, did the budget match the CFSP? Now, we did an analysis, and in my letter of 10th June, we had clearly outlined the areas where the budget did not match the CFSP. And we had made recommendations that the executive go ahead and realign those areas. So I may not be in a position now to go item by item, but this is one area that we had already recommended that the budget and the CFSP actually be aligned. On the pending bills, is it possible to roll over pending bills on recurrent matters? Yes. No, it is not recommended to roll over recurrent bills, not recurrent pending bills. Mr. Chairman, once bills become pending bills, then they change status. Pending bills are, they need to be paid, and so provision must be made for them. When they are pending bills, I don't think we still consider them recurrent, because I remember very well we have been monitoring the payment of pending bills, and for the longest time, we have not gone back to say, was this recurrent or was this payment? However, from year to year, from the last financial year to this financial year, we may not roll over recurrent bills. But some of these bills are very old. Some of them are probably from the period beyond 2018. And I do know from where I sit that Kirinyaga was lagging behind because there were disputes on which bills would be allowable. So for them, providing an amount for those bills, I think was in order. On the offices that were agreed, I'm sorry, I'm not privy to this information. I was commenting on the basis that if indeed offices were to be put up, then they could be spaced out. over a period of 3 years, not to have all of them done the same year. So here I think we are together with the chairman budget. He understands what I'm talking about. The rollover projects had no details. Chairman, this, like I had said earlier, sometimes it's not possible before the end, right at the end of the financial year, to know the actual figures that will be rolled over. And that's why in my presentation, I said this information is now available from IFMIS, and it is actually possible to put in this figure in the budget. Maybe before this time, it was not possible because there were a lot of things going on. Appropriations, are they done with the CECM and the Assembly, or are they sent back for amendment? For this, Chairman, I would comment on the separation of duties and the spirit of separating those who provide oversight vis-a-vis the doers. I do not think that the spirit of the law was that the Assembly actually sits to do the figures. And this, I'll stand by my position, I'm sorry. I don't think these are things that should be done together in that sense of actually doing the figure work. Then there is the allocation of 58 million to KRA. Yes, I would agree with the chairman budget that they should not just receive an amorphous figure. They actually need notes. There should be explanatory notes explaining how this figure arose. Is it due to withholding deductions, or is it perhaps due to penalties that may have been levied, due to late payments? All sorts of scenarios are possible, and I believe the executive should be in a position to explain fully how this matter came to being. On section 129 of the PFM on the time limits, I remember, I think one of the senators, maybe I'm forgetting the name, raised the fact that if the executive does not respond within the time limits, then what does the Assembly do? I don't want to start laying blame, but again, if we are saying that there have been consultations, this is not something that should happen, because during those consultations, everybody should have known, and those who are getting late should have been reminded that there are time limits to be adhered to. So I still wouldn't think that the best way would be for the Assembly to just take it over and say, okay, we don't have this, and so we are going ahead to do the budget, because then this budget will not be forwarded by the governor, and so it is counterproductive. So my position would be that there be more consultation between the parties, so that these issues are understood commonly between the two of them. Now, as chairman, I still have the issue of matching grants, and this what is this? On the matching grants, this is the position, and this position was explained by the governor in her memorandum. And in the PFM, it states that the grant recipient is required to act in accordance with any terms and conditions specified in the grant agreement. Usually the grants that come have certain conditions within them. So the County Assembly had itemized to be financed by the Kenya Roads Board for the road maintenance fuel levy. This itemization was not in line with the annual work plan submitted by the Roads Board. The Assembly removed from the budget the 146 conditional grant financed by the World Bank for the Kenya Devolution Support Program, contrary to Section 138(5), which requires that grants and donations be appropriated before they are expended. So I would like to refer Chairman Budget to Section 138(5) of the PFMA, which he can refer and then understand why this particular appropriation was required. Chairman, I think I've touched on all the areas that Chairman Budget and also other members had queried. Thank you.
Controller, I do not want us to get into very detailed scrutiny of figures, because as a team that is trying to bring together both sides to ensure that we have a working budget, we should not lose sight of the big picture. At the beginning, the leader of majority was clear that he has a way forward, and he has put on the table certain conditions. And he has said that the issues that have been raised can be addressed through a supplementary estimate. And I think let's not lose sight of the bigger picture, but we'll still call on the small details to help illustrate that. I want to request senators now to contribute. I just want to ask one question to the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the memorandum, the governor's memorandum was defeated. How much time exists before the appropriation becomes law? How much more time is remaining from the time you wrote to the governor?
That time is 7 days, and it expires tomorrow. Friday.
It expires on Friday.
Yes, on Friday.
Okay.
Chairman.
Could I open it to honorable senators?
Question, Chairman. First question. Yes. Chairman, thank you so much. Chairman, before I ask my 2 or 3 questions, Chairman, you can hear me and the team?
Yes, we can hear you, Senator.
Yes. I think first things, before even we go to writing, ruling, or whatever, I think, Chairman, there are certain pertinent issues which are coming out, and which, to me, if I was seated with the judge, I would want some clarification. And I stand to be guided by your office, whether certain matters which are very clear, which we don't need further interrogation, but we need some confirmation from the office of the executive as to whether it is prudent for your office to write or even resummon if need be, the executive to clarify certain straightforward matters like the KRA, 58 million, supporting explanatory notes, whether she can send those before we even for us to scrutinize, and the same be copied to the county assembly for confirmation. The issue of the pending bill, also the same. We also need the schedule as itemized. Those are some of my reactions, and then another matter which we think needs some clarification. Now over to my question, Chairman. I've written them somewhere. It is here because I was writing. Chairman, there is the issue which was raised here by the initial state. Number one, there are matters which there are some condition precedents which were put forth by Mr. Madenge. I don't know whether it's Mr. Madenge or Honorable Muia. That before, I think it is Honorable Muia, before there is any sitting between the counter executive and the counter assembly, there are those 4 preconditions which must be fulfilled. And I feel that it's a very tough stance if we are going to negotiate. Does Mr. Muia tell us, especially those matters which are 2 matters which are pending respective high courts in Kirinyaga and Milimani, Nairobi, the cause implication if they are lifted. Because to me, if they are lifted, you know, it may complicate matters. The county assembly may have upper hand and go ahead and confirm matters which ought to be digressed between the parties. That is the first matter. Chairman, the second matter. The second matter is whether the county assembly have got some minutes confirming issues relating to, or rather what was agreed between the two parties with regard to the construction of the ward offices. It's important if those projects are there, because we have heard from the view of the controller of budget that they can be rolled in piecemeal. But do you have that understanding? Because putting up those offices are also equally important. You know, in so far as the budget is concerned, what was budget. Then my last question, which will go to Mr. Muia, Honorable Muia, and it's good is Senator, or rather Kirinyaga Senator is also in this meeting and is now the chair of the Finance Committee, Budget Committee. There's the issue of the ceiling of which matter was raised yesterday by Senator Waiguru. I mean, Governor Waiguru, very clearly that the county assembly is going off the limits, which was, you know, was put by the finance, or if I may say Senate, with regard to putting up the county assembly amphitheater. She was very categorical that the county assembly has exceeded the budget which was put on. And they are aware that this is a criminal offense. Actually, it may call for other, you know, intergovernmental agencies to come in where the budget is exceeded. I'm saying so from the point of information, because last time I was a member of that committee, Finance and Budget Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Members, do we propose that we take one or two other interventions before the assembly?
Yes, please, Chair.
So, first, Senator
Chair?
Malala.
Yeah, I'm here.
That's Senator Malala.
Yes, thank you, Chair. First of all, I want to appreciate the county assembly members. I admire their prowess in carrying out their oversight role. Yesterday, Chair, I was listening pensively to Governor Anne Waiguru, and she put up a strong case. And on the flip side today, I've equally heard from the county assembly, and they equally have a very strong case, Chair. I think this puts us in a catch-22 situation, a situation whereby both yes and no are wrong, a situation whereby if we do not strike an equilibrium, we might end up making the people of Kirinyaga suffer more. You have stated clearly, Chair, that this is not an appellate jurisdiction. Huh? Our committee is not an appellate jurisdiction. Our committee is an arbitrator. I would want to propose as follows, Chair. Let us not even go and delve deep into the technical issues that are emanating from this stalemate. As a committee chair, I would propose that we request the control of budget to come up with a need list on all technical issues that have arose from these conflicts. If we have that technical need list, we will use that as an instrument to mediate between the two parties. We will use that list to cross-check and request honorable members from the county assembly to cede ground on some issues and also request the county the county executive also to sit ground. What I am not sure is who will do the mediation. At what point will we allow the county assembly members to start sitting ground and adjudicating the content of the budget? If we take up that responsibility, then we shall be taking up the responsibility of the devolved units. And I think the Senate is not supposed to micromanage the county assemblies and the county government. So I think it's a tricky balance, which we need utmost good faith from both parties. What I am coming to chair, lastly, is I chaired the impeachment of Governor Waiguru, and from that, you are also a member. And they are glaring, it is evident that there is a big conflict, in fact, bigger than even the budget process conflict in Kirinyaga. How I wish a chair, and the Senate of Kirinyaga is here, to expedite the process of forming a mediation, a substantive mediation committee, which is going to bring these conflicts to a halt and come up with amicable solutions. Because as it stands right now, Chair, you can be rest assured that the people of Kirinyaga are suffering. We have hospitals which are closing up. We have workers who are not being paid. In 2 or 3 months' time, even the members of county assembly will not be paid and will not be able even to operate and carry out their oversight role. So I would really wish this committee comes up with we think deeper in a way in which we can sort out this issue of the budget and extend even further to other issues as pertains the relationship between the executive and the county assembly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Malala.
Yeah, can I come in also?
Senator Maura?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think having listened to the long and winding presentation of MCAs, and also yesterday with Governor Waiguru, and also the control of budget, I think this is a matter of relationships, as I said yesterday, and I want to reiterate today, because you cannot use the law to resolve relationship issues, especially when I could hear the chair budget talking about when there was a honeymoon and such other words. Because, you know, the law cannot cure people disagreeing, especially on whether they like each other or not. But what is important is to agree that even when relationships have not been very good, and even if they may thaw in future, is that, you know, work must continue. Because one of the things that has come out today, and I stand guided on this one, is that there were deliberate efforts to tinker with the process so that you create facts on the ground, and so whatever you want to do passes. Because when Dr. Nyakango says that the county assembly the budget was not wrong, yesterday we had the governor saying that the due process was not followed, and now you see also there's an issue of whether actually, you go by the adage that the product is as good as the process. So I think, Chair, we may want to retreat. I think we need to have a summary of issues so that even as we go to mediation, we know what exactly we are addressing. Yeah, because it is incongruous to imagine that people who have been sponsored by the same political party then must also share some certain kind of, background and vision. And finally, Chair, is also to say that we are also happy, and I think this is a positive on the county assembly. We as senators may have been worried about whether the MCAs understand the budget making process, but from the presentation of the chair, it's quite clear. But it then goes further to say that it's not enough to understand it. It's also good to have, the goodwill to ensure that whatever is anticipated in law actually has effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mwaura. I think that was more advisory. But Assembly, please don't forget the pointed questions from Senator Kabaka. When you get an opportunity, you'll respond. Which other senator wants to make a comment?
Chair, can I make a comment?
Senator Kipchumba.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank the County Assembly for their very informed presentation. And this is my way forward. One is to first remind them that they are not the first county to go through this process of stalemate in their budget. In fact, they're one of Makueni, which at that point in time was the chair of the committee, spilled over up to a situation where there was what do you call a proposed dissolution of the county government. So in that regard, I know there are pending issues that are related to accountability, but I would be more than happy if the County Assembly and the County Executive can separate the issues of accountability related to the impeachment and all those things. I see the controller is struggling with am I not audible enough? I hope I am, Chair, am I audible enough?
Not only are you audible, but you are also visible.
Okay. I wanted to be sure because I saw the control of budget struggling, putting the
That's very funny.
You're okay,
so
Senator.
The problem would be on our side. So the point I want to make is that the Assembly should separate the other issues they have with the accountability from the County Executive from the budgeting process and make sure that they become as faithful as possible towards the budgeting process. I think as an issue of solution, there are certain technical issues, and I think that was, who was that? Was it you, the chair, or Senator Kabaka, or was it Malala? The checklist of the technical issues. There is an interpretation issue related to a few sections of the Public Finance Management Act that the controller has pointed out, where there is a disagreement between the controller of budget and the County Assembly. I would rather, Madam Controller, because, you know, just not for you to issue decrees on what is your position on law, but perhaps to have a meeting with the County Assembly members and help them achieve that which you are suggesting. Because then, you know, control of budget office is so important because it came, you know, to assist us not to reach the stage where you have to wait for audit in the various mistakes that may happen in County Assembly. So I think, Chair, some of the things can really be solved if the controller sits down with the County Assembly and sorts the technical issues and assists them. The other issue will be sorted if I don't know, yesterday I put this question to Governor Waiguru and she was saying, oh, the relationship between the executive and the assembly is, she almost used the words irretrievably broken. And remember what you and myself told the governor chair and a number of senators said as much, that there is no relationship that cannot be mended. And that is the same thing I'm trying to put to the County Assembly. Is it not possible for the County Assembly budget committee to meet with the CC Finance and deal with these issues separate from the other concerns the Assembly has on oversight? The same way in the Senate we do our work, we disagree with our governors on certain things, but when it comes to fighting for resources to go to counties, we remain faithful to the process of ensuring that resources go to the county. So that you separate the oversight responsibility of the County Assembly, particularly on the concerns they have on management of resources in the county vis-a-vis the budgeting process, so that they can achieve the budget. Lastly, as a Senate, I want to assure the County Assembly, I have been a consistent supporter, and many of the senators and senators have been consistent supporter of the County Assembly, because we understand that County Assembly plays the almost similar role with us insofar as oversight is concerned. I want to request that we will retreat as a committee and come with certain proposals that we think is the way forward. Yeah, And I suggest that when we suggest those issues, you consider them seriously, because we are not going to give orders or directives. We'll give you an advisory kind of a note back to the county assembly on the things that we think, if you do, you will achieve what you want to achieve without, like Senator Malala said, micromanaging your constitutional responsibility. Ours just provide like an advisory opinion to avert this situation so that you can be able to move forward. And please have faith that when this committee works, dissociate your fears about our responsibility when we were doing the impeachment process from this particular responsibility we are doing here. We are capable of rising above every other decision that could have been taken within the Senate. Even if you have misgivings on the decision.
Must you say that? Must you say
well,
that?
I have to, because Chairman Malala, it's not like everybody agrees with the decisions we took in the Senate, but I just want to assure the county assembly, because that could be their fear, that we will rise above that. This is a separate issue that regards our process of budgeting for the county assembly. And lastly, I want to request the county assembly that if there are areas of law that you think the Senate should carry out certain amendments, take also this opportunity to make those suggestions, because this is the right committee for us to pursue further legal amendments that will make the relationship and budgeting process between the executive and legislature smooth. And there is a question that, Controller, I suspect you are evading. The question of when does budgeting process become final? If the county executive refuses to appear before the county assembly, should the county assembly just then lift their hands and say, okay, we will wait until the executive arrives? Or they should use whatever initial presentations given by the executive to make something out of the budgeting process?
Okay.
Chairman, should I respond?
Maybe on that specific one, then we hear Senator Nyamunga.
Okay, perhaps what I can say is that further to what I said before is that there should be consultation, but there has to be a limit to how much weighting the county assembly can take. But it should be common knowledge between the two parties. That is what I insist. So if up to a certain point they don't receive anything, then they should go ahead with what they have. Now, what has not been proven here is whether that threshold was passed, and that is why they went ahead. Because as we can all see, that threshold has not been defined. I did not see it. They would have said if we don't receive by 5 days, by 10 days, by 1 day. I did not see that. So I hope the Senator Murkomen is answered.
Let me know.
You can see even the way the controller is struggling with that answer. Yeah? Would it be part of those provisions in the finance law that may require
Yes.
further amendment to give definite timeline, so that the threshold that the controller is talking about is not in her discretion? It should be provided in law so that everybody knows the limit that must be, the timelines that must be observed. Secondly, should this consultation also be in writing, so that the wish list of the county executive must always be in writing, to allow for that control of budget to make the determination she was making as to whether those threshold issues have been achieved. Those are the things I think we might need to relook when it comes to the law.
Thank you, Senator Murkomen. And as have you proposed when we retreat to come up with an advisory note, those could be some of the issues, potential amendments to the law. Let me ask Senator Nyamunga. Senator Kibiru, I believe, is still on board. I would like.
Yes, I'm on board. I'm on board. I want to say something, Chair.
I'd like
After
you to have the final word.
Okay.
Maybe after Senator Nyamunga.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. First of all, I must commend the County Assembly of Kirinyaga because from where I sit and after listening to them all for the last 2 hours or so, I can see a very elite assembly where they are on actually, they understand the work that they are doing. And I want to urge them that the most important thing is for us, for all of us to understand that from where we are, that the most important thing is the people that we represent. And for the sake of the people that we represent, sometimes it may force us to cede some ground on both sides. Chair, I would like to say that in my view, and very categorically, I want also to commend the controller of budget because she has been very, very candid in our comments and really facing things as they are. And I must also say that there was a big failure. There was a big failure that I may not say on this one because we will retreat to make the real comments that we need to make. But I think the county may not have reached where it reached if both sides did their work. And I think the issue of impeachment may also have played a very major role and has brought the county to where it is today. Having said that, we must still know that we work for the benefit of the people that we represent. Mr. Speaker, without going into the flaws, because I see an issue with the issues on the employees, because yesterday the governor made it very clear that when they sacked people or employees from the Ministry of Health, the time they had a lot of issues, they replaced or less, but of course with getting the same quality that they needed, and actually they ended up saving some money after making the retrenchments and replacements. But from what is coming out from the members of the county assembly, that wage bill, there's a problem with the wage bill and there is a problem with the staffing. I mean, there must be, there is a problem, there must be an audit. And this cuts across many other counties. The audit of employees, that is causing a problem. And also there are issues that are technical issues. But what I say, I want to add on to what Senator Malala said, that there are flaws. And from what we got yesterday, we don't have time. It is like, it is only this week and will be time bad in terms of this budget. But from what we have, there's no way this budget can move forward unless we correct. And the controller of budget can help the county of Kirinyaga to correct. Where the governor needs to correct, let it be corrected. Where the county government the county assembly needs to correct, it has to be corrected. Because we cannot move on with something which is so flawed, with so many, there are issues on this budget, which we must actually correct. But I want to thank all the parties and I want to thank the chair, and most of the issues we are going to address them in-house. But as it is, it is a big flaw, and I don't think it should have reached where it had reached if both sides were really serious that they are working for the people of Kirinyaga. I think they put other issues and it prevented them from doing the actual work that they were meant to do. But it's a great team, and a team that if they were to follow the law, I think Kirinyaga will be among the top counties performing in their responsibility. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Nyamuka, for that emphasis. We move to Senator Kibiru. Unless there's any other senator who has not commented, I'd wanted Senator Kibiru as a host senator to maybe wrap up, and then we'll ask the assembly to respond to the few issues that senators have raised, and then we agree on the way forward. Senator Kibiru.
Thank you, Chair. First and foremost, I just wanted to be on view so that Mulcomen can see me, and so that he doesn't say that it is a taped voice. Must commend you, Chair, for the way you are calling out your role, and I must say that I'm impressed, as always I have been, by my fellow Waheshimiwas from Kirinyaga. Indeed, Kabaka have just called me from another line, and he says we are very enlightened MCAs. But having said that, the fears Senator Murango and others had, they can now see that the Senate is impartial, the Senate is reasoning, and like I promised them, this time Senator Marara will also listen, like he has also done. And and
Senator Kibiru,
concur with Senator Maura.
Malala was
we need to retreat and look at the issues that have been canvassed. And like Mulkomen have said, we look at also the areas that can be improved in amending some of the laws that we have that can facilitate in terms of avoiding some of the challenges that have faced Kirinyaga. MCS, fellow MCS from the MCS from Kirinyaga, I think this is a give and take. As we move forward, we see the services that we see what can be done to offer services to the people who elected us, and you can hear the senators are passionate and they're willing to really mediate. I was worried when the majority leader started with the conditions. Now, of course, here we will be addressing the concerns of the MCAs on the conditions that they were giving before we can mediate. But all in all, I think there is light in the end of the tunnel, unless there is no tunnel, of course. But I can see a tunnel, and I'm sure there will be light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you so much, Chair. I wouldn't want to overemphasize or to repeat what other senators have said. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Senator Kibiru. Majority Leader and your team, let me hand it back to you so that you can spend maybe some 5 minutes or so responding to the feedback by the senators and control of budget. And then you can also focus on how do we move from here, because you have articulated the issues very clearly. And at the end of the day, looking at the big picture, how do we move from here? So, Majority Leader, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Before maybe I answer the question that I had, I think it was from Senator Cheriot. I will say that, Chair, it's also important to know that this is the early stage that we give direction on our proposals and demands. This is because from the question Senator is asking, it seems as if the Senator wants to justify our legislative action to them. But it would be good if you can advise when the formation will begin, so that we can, from there now, I think we can point out where we would like the you to look in terms of our issues. I also want to say that, Mr. Chair, that we understand that the County Assembly, the Senate should understand that the County Assembly is willing to consider any concerns by the executive after mediating and negotiations. However, these concerns can only be addressed within the laid down legislative procedures. In this regard, we pray that the committee furnishes the governor with our demands. Let the governor indicate her willingness to negotiate by meeting our demands. Thereafter, the County Assembly will negotiate a supplementary budget and of course negotiate on the supplementary appropriation law with the governor. Mr. Chair, I also want to read again our demands, because if I'm right, Honorable Cheriot, and after that, we had requested, we had demanded that the government will withdraw all courses that we withdraw of the two constitutional petitions.
Point of order, Chair.
Yes, Senator Malala.
Chair, I just want to make I just want you to make a clarification on the issue of the supplementary budget. Is it is it right to say that the county assembly will do a supplementary budget, yet they do not have a budget? I think supplementary budgets emanate from already existing budgets. So will it be right for them to insinuate that they shall be willing to come up with a supplementary budget per se, but because I think it's just a matter of reviewing the current budget estimate and tabling the budget estimates afresh rather than doing a supplementary budget.
Okay, I will let the majority leader respond to that. Majority leader?
Mr. Chair, I think it's worth noting that the demands that we are giving were to enable a conducive atmosphere whereby the supplementary budget can be done. Because, Mr. Chair, if we say that we are doing an fresh budget, that has already been overtaken by events, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair, if you listen collectively to what we are saying here, we cannot continue with mediation whereby the subject matter is still in the court of law. Mr. Chair, like we demanded that the governor withdraws or causes the withdrawal of the two constitutional petitions filed at the High Court of Kenya in Kerugoya and the High Court of Kenya at Nairobi. This one is regarding the same budgets we are talking about, Mr. Chair. And B, the governor should assent and causes the publication in the Kenya Gazette of the Kirinyaga County Supplementary Appropriation Bill number 2 Act 2020. This will give room for a supplementary budget to be done, Mr. Chair. C, the governor assents to and causes the publication in the Kenya Gazette of the Kenya County Appropriation Bill Act 2020. It will serve the same purpose. And lastly, the negotiation to address the governor's concern should be carried out within the context of a proposed supplementary appropriation law after extensive consultation with the county assembly. Mr. Chair, I think I should also maybe add something regarding.
Sorry for that.
Senator Malala, can the majority leader proceed, or you are done intervention?
Chair, can I say something before the leader majority concludes?
Okay.
Chair, I'm listening to the leader of majority keenly, and he alludes to the fact that he would wish that the governor withdraws the case, which is a good thing, and because, as you said, when you come for mediation, you must come with open hands. My thinking would have been, or my suggestion would have been, the governor and the county assembly can file a consent in court on how to withdraw the case from court so that they can facilitate mediation. However, Chair, on the issue of supplementary budget, let me just finish on that point, Chair. Are you getting me?
Yes, proceed. Even though I'd wanted to advise that our views on the process ought to have come after we listened to the final submission of the assembly. So you can proceed along those lines.
And Chair, can I add something?
No, I was talking, Murkomen.
No, just on a point of order.
Okay, proceed.
Yeah, some of the things I am seeing Senator Malala, the direction he's taking, and things we will deliberate on when now all the parties are not with us.
Senator Malala, then be guided accordingly.
Okay. I'm guided, Chair, but just on a point of information, I wanted to inform the Chair that we have laws that govern supplementary budgets, and we have ceilings as to to what extent you can amend a budget during supplementary budget. And therefore, I will be informing the leader majority that wouldn't be the correct way to go. But as I have been advised, we shall be conversing the same when we retreat, so that we can come up with a solid conclusion to this matter. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Malala. Majority Leader, you may proceed.
Okay, Mr. Chair, well, I think what we have already submitted are proposals in our attempt to find a mediated solution. We will await your directions as the mediator when you reconvene as the committee. But Chair, I also was wanting to say something regarding these rising wage bills, because I feel if we don't say this, it may escape our mind.
Mr. Chair, it's worth noting that from the previous regime, we never had a problem when balancing the budget at 70. But now, despite, because we have been having real problems when we ask for the documentations and everything, including the staff's audit, you find that we have duplication in the directorship position, Mr. Chair. Like the directorship for administration, we have 2 directors being paid the same salary. Some have been moved to other places where they are not even required. In the revenue, we have more than 1 director. When we come to the budget, we have more than 1 director. Mr. Chair, the reason why this happened is that our governor could not work with people that she did not bring in the county, Mr. Chair. So telling us there is a problem with wage bill, we need to look back to the previous regime from the time up to 2017, and you'll find out there was no problem at all. So these problems are self-created, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the other thing that I can say is that when we gave some of our demands here, is because we have been having problems, especially when it comes to suing. Our governor is suing everything that is suable. We are arguing sometimes, Mr. Chair, that even in some of these cases, the governor sued herself. But we keep on asking for whose benefit. That's why we are saying that some of these cases that we have, because they are not only 2, I think there must be 4 or 5. We are asking just for 2 as our proposal, so that you can give your guidelines, and from there we see when we can have. You can give us a date for the mediation itself. Then we can table what we have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair Budget. You seem like you wanted to say something.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I can give you a few minutes.
Thank you. I require 2 minutes. Mr. Chair, as per the Assembly of Kirinyaga is concerned, we have a budget at hand. We've followed all due procedures laid down in the PFM regulations, County Government Act, up to the point of defeating a governor's memorandum with a 25 MCA's vote against the 33. Mr. Chair, it's also good to confirm again on issue salaries for our health employees. We had a letter. The letter is with you, stipulating that the county executive is going to have savings. And also, Mr. Chair, I need your guidance, because after the governor's memorandum was defeated in the county assembly, the verum copy was prepared by the speaker. It was taken to the governor for accent last week on Friday. She has until this week, Friday, to accent all the memorandum becomes, the appropriations bill becomes law automatically as per the PFM regulations 36. Mr. Chair, what is the way forward? Now that on Friday, it's 2 days. If she fails to accent that bill, what happens? Because we know she wants to punish not only the MCAs, but all the county employees by denying them salaries for the next maybe some months as we conclude the court matter before us in the high courts, Mr. Chair. And this one, I think it's a totally being selfish. The MCAs were not ready to see the health workers go without salaries. Not forgetting the Minister of Health, national government, to have allocated 116 million shilling to fight COVID in Kirinyaga County. If the governor takes the budget to court, that means that she cannot even access the 116 million shilling meant for COVID. How are you going to defeat this disease in Kirinyaga County? Mr. Chair, Kirinyaga, we have a problem. And Senator Kibiru can tell you, the county assembly has been sitting in tents for the last 2 years. When the governor came, she found an ongoing construction within the assembly. But I can tell you for free, she has totally frustrated the assembly speaker, the clerk, by not maybe after appropriating for allocations for that building. She has totally ignored, even allowing the QS to do the necessary certificates so that the contractor can finish the building for us. How much are we supposed to sit on these tents, Mr. Chair? And Senator Kibiru, I'm very sure he can tell you he is a man of this county, and the MCAs are not constructing any amphitheater in the county assembly. We are requesting to finish that already building that has already begun. Lastly, Mr. Chair, the CC Finance has no powers. The governor is done by one person, Governor Anne Waiguru. The budget, sorry. And I can tell you, if you request for our answer, when we call DCC's members in our consultative meeting, Mr. Chair, it's clear, it's crystal clear that no CC member, no directors, no CEOs are involved in budget making process. It's done by governor, taken to CC Finance to accent and forward to the county assembly. For how long are we going to sit and watch the governor doing against the provisions of the PFM, County Government Act, and the Constitution, Mr. Chair? So even if you tell us to sit with the CC member, that's the reason why she sends the CC member here. We agree on things, the CFSP, the budget process, and on everything. But after he goes to the governor's side, the story and the narrative changes. Lastly, Mr. Chair, Section 129 is very also clear. After the budget estimate is tabled to the assembly, the necessary information, documentation, appropriations bill are supposed to be tabled on 30th April of every year. So it means even the assembly was extending an olive branch to the executive by calling the CC members to the county assembly for consultative meeting regarding this budget. So the matters budget process, it ends at a point where the budget estimates and the necessary bills are brought to the assembly, information and documentation by the executive to the assembly on 30th April. But what did we do? We did the public participation and extended that olive branch to the executive and invited them to the assembly. We agree on the way forward, which we did. So as I'm concerned as chair budget and the Kirinyaga County Assembly, we have a budget by Friday. If she fails to accede to the bill, automatically it becomes wrong. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would wish a friend to Senator Marara Honorable Wangoi to say something in 30 seconds. If you allow, we call him Honorable Wangoi David.
If he's speaking as a friend of Senator Malala, I'll say no. But if he's speaking as a friend of the Senate and the Assembly, I'll choose.
And it's also good. And it's also good that you have clarified it's Honorable David Wangoi, because I thought it's Honorable Wangoi, a lady.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I want to make my remarks and say that a budget is a document that ought to be consultative and agreed upon. But Chair, just for your information, that as we do the budget, as we do our part as the members of the county assembly, we have been met with a major hindrance, and the hindrance is lack of documents. I want to say that the Chair of the control of budget mention of documents such as the grant agreement. She has also mentioned of the work plans from the Kenya Road. Chair, these documents you have been requesting for them from the executive, and Chair, they have not been forthcoming. Therefore, it has been so challenging for the county assembly. Finally, Chair, the governor launched a complaint with the Committee on Senate on Devolution. And Chair, as you consider the governor's complaints, you also look at the pride of the members of the county assembly to an extent that the word-based fact, we itemize, but the governor would not want the money to be itemized for specific projects in our wards. And Chair, to invite your attention, there are so many pending projects in our county, especially those that were initiated in the previous regime. Chair, they are in hundreds. Mention the water project, mention the health project, mention the polytechnics, mention footbridges, which were left halfway completed. Therefore, as the pending bills are being considered, let's also have a leeway to consider all those white elephants projects. Chair, finally, my very last remark is the fact that there are solutions to the stalemate that is there in the county of Kirinyaga. Is the fact that somebody must come down from the ivory tower and agree to cede ground and sit with these members of the county assembly that are considered to be illiterate, that are considered to be petty, that are considered not to understand the role and their responsibilities. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, sasa ni kumalizia kabisa because I think now he'll be handing over. But nafikiria pia tutakuwa tumefanya haki kwa KBC kama hatujaongea Kiswahili Chair kidogo. Chair, ningetaka kusema kwamba assembly tumekuwa
Chair.
Senator Mwaura.
Asante sana mwenyekiti, kwa sababu naona kama kuna mwenzetu ambaye nafikiri ni kiongozi walio wengi anataka kuzungumza kwa Kiswahili, lakini let me ask a question here. Just in summary, majority leader, as you give your summary. So if you are to be asked today, and I think Wangui has tried to allude to this, if you are to be asked today, what is a solution? Because you see now there's a stalemate. You've come to us and we are willing to help because that's our constitutional mandate. And we are acting as physicians, not morticians, you see. But if you are to be asked today, what would be the solution? What needs to happen for Kirinyaga County to move forward?
Shida ambayo niko nayo kwa sababu sasa nitaongea Kiswahili ni kwamba kuna stahili kuwa na mazungumzo ambayo imekuwa hatuna katika kaunti ya Kirinyaga na executive. Gavana wetu kwa sambambo ambazo wanazielea mwenyewe sijui anatuchukulianga vipi. Wanasema anachukulianga urahisi kama bei ya chumvi. Kwa sababu kila kitu tukiitisha tupewi, imefika mahali ambapo hata tukiita wale CC members ili tufanye oversight hawezi kuja. Hata imefika mahali sasa tumeandikia mpaka DPP kulingana na katiba wale watu ambao tumewaita zaidi ya mara 3 wachukulie hatua ili tuone kama mwafaka tutaufikia. Ningetaka kusema kwamba mwenyekiti, ni kama tutatatua hii shinda, mazungumzo inafaa kuwa inatoka pande zote mbili, na isiwe mtu asimwambia kwamba eti CC ama waziri katika kaunti ya Kirinyaga kuna kitu anasema. Ukiangalia bajeti yetu utapata hata mawaziri kadhaa ambao bajeti hawana, wako na sufuri. Kwa hivyo wale hawakuna kitu anasema. Mwenye picha yule mwenye ni actor mkubwa ni gavana peke yake, na kama hii majadiliano itafanywa na gavana peke yake, hao wengine hata kama tukijaribu kuwavuta tutakuwa tunafanya kazi ya kuchota maji kwa kikapu. Namba 2, gavana wetu mustahiki anafaa pia awe ni mtu ambaye anasikiza watu wengine, na ofisi kama za control budget na senate na wengine, asiwe tu anakuja tu kutafuta mwafaka ambao unamfaa yeye. Kwa sababu tumesema mara zaidi ya moja ni kwamba gavana wetu asikira mwadhini wala mtakamaji msikitini. Chochote unachomwambia gavana wetu anaichukulia tu kama mzaha. Kwa hivyo imefikia mahali ambapo kumekuwa na shida. Kwa sababu ukijiuliza swali, toka sisi tukuja hapa miaka 2, tumekuwa tunamfuata nyuma kama siafu. Akisema bed tuna bed. Ikafika mahali tukapigana miezi 7. Na sababu ya kupigana ilikuwa yeye. Aache pia juhudi zake ambazo anaziweka sana za kujaribu kuja kugawanya bunge. Kwa sababu bunge tushajua ya kwamba sisi wote ni ndege. Tushajua kwamba sisi wote ni ndege na kujua hivyo ni kwamba sisi hakuna mtu atakuja kututawanya tena. Nimalizie niseme ya kwamba kama venye Senator Mwaura ameuliza, sisi tunataka kazi ifanyike Kirinyaga. Na hatutaki kitu inaitwa PRs, kundanganyana, hiyo hatutaki. Hata tutakapokuja tukae na tuelewane. Mkuje nyinyi pia mashinani mpate kama venye tumeelewana, tumekuja muone kama imefanywa. Kwa sababu makaratasi kuandika gavana anatushinda sana. Kizungu anatushinda kabisa, lakini ukweli hapa chini ukija utadhirika kwamba tunaongea ukweli. Pasipokuwa na hayo tutambaki kuwa katika Kirinyaga, uongozi wa Kirinyaga utakuwa tu kama mgomba, hatufai kuni, hatufai mbao. Kwa hivyo ningetaka niseme na la mwisho ni kwamba zile vitu ambazo tumesema, mambo ambayo amepeleka kotini, kama yeye mwenyewe ako na moyo nzuri ambayo ni ya kutatua hili suluhisho, pia aende aondoe zile makesi, kwa sababu zile makesi bado itakuwa ni kikwazo kikubwa sana. Makesi ni mingi sana. Kwa sababu hizi hata sijui kazi yake ni hii makesi ni nini. Kwa hivyo kwa machache hivyo mimi ndo ningesema tunataka heshima ya mbunge. Gavana akae mbali na kujaribu kuja kugawanya mbunge kwa manufaa yake mwenyewe. Atoke mahali amepanda juu ya mti, ashuke chini,
ajua wananchi wa Kirinyaga ndio wamemshikilia ngazi, na akikosa kushuka chini, wananchi wa Kirinyaga sasa watakata mti, sio hata kuondoa ngazi, tuporomoke zote. Kwa hivyo hizo ndio mambo ambayo mimi ningesema kama mkubwa, mkiongozi wengi katika bunge ya Kirinyaga. Asante.
Asante sana kiongozi wa walio wengi. Tuhakikishe kwamba hatukati mti, sababu tukikata mti kila mtu ataumia. Sio governor pekee, sio wale waheshimiwa wa assembly, lakini kila mtu Kirinyaga ataumia, na pia hatutakuwa tumefanya haki kwa mfumo wa ugatuzi. Ugatuzi unafaa kutuwezesha tuwe na suluhisho kwa shida zetu kule mashinani badala ya kuja Nairobi kutafuta suluhisho. Allow me just to reflect on concluding remarks, maybe in English. And one, I want to thank you, honorable members, for accepting to have this conversation. We were a bit worried that you would, because ours is not a mandatory supervisory mandate, that you would not appear. I'm delighted that we have spent the last 2.5 hours discussing issues of great concern. And I agree with the opening remarks of the majority leader when he cited various constitutional provisions that even though we've got a duty in the constitution to defend the interests of counties and their government, we are not coming with a big stick. We are coming as peacemakers. Number two, if this was a game of chess, then you would have put the governor in a checkmate position. We have a situation where there was a process through which a budget was done. I am getting the impression that some people slept on the job. I'm getting the impression that people were supposed to do certain things during that process, particularly on the part of the executive, did not do it. I'm getting the impression that certain persons absconded their duty. But this is not a game of chess. This is about lives. This is about health. This is about schools. And this is about roads and markets for the people of Kirinyaga. So I am glad that we are all agreeing that we must climb down from our positions so that we are able to get a solution. There has to be cessation of hostilities before there can be discussions. And I think the Assembly, you are fairly right in your expectation that the legal issues going on in the courts of law, which then creates a rift between the Assembly and the Executive, must be addressed. When the Executive sues the Assembly, they are using money that could have bought drugs. When the Assembly defends itself against the Executive, they are using money that could have been used to conduct public participation. Indeed, we must find alternative ways of resolving disputes, and that is a constitutional requirement. And so when we are having this conversation, we are not just coming in as people who are poking their noses, but we are promoting ways of resolving disputes without getting into the costs of litigation. Majority Leader, you have requested the Senate to submit your conditions to the governor. I've observed that you've been talking to each other through the media, and that is not very healthy. And if you wish the Senate to be the bridge between the Executive and the Assembly, we will gladly do so. I want to undertake that after this meeting, and I'm hoping that you will share with us the right of your minimum conditions, that you will punish us with your minimum conditions. We shall share them with the Executive. We shall also ask the Executive to share with us their minimum conditions, because it didn't come out very clearly yesterday. The governor just said that she wanted the Senate to mediate. We must be willing to give and take. So, Majority Leader, we shall share those. They are fairly sensible in the sense that you want hostilities to cease. You want a ceasefire before you discuss. Obviously, we will have to reflect on the implication of Section 24 of the County Government Act. But fortunately, we have until Friday. I'm going to propose that this committee shall retreat between today and tomorrow morning. We come up with certain recommendations. We'll be consulting the controller of budget, even as we make our recommendations. But please remember, and I want to reiterate what Senator Mwaura said, that this is about relationships. This is about negotiation. Politics is about people talking to each other. We cannot legislate on relationships. And even if you're capable of suing anything suable, you are not going to successfully sue on matters of relationship. So Majority Leader, as you request the governor to climb down, I also request you to climb down so that we meet somewhere in the middle. But when I listen to you, I get the feeling that what you require as an assembly is recognition of your constitutional mandate and appreciation of your role in these processes. Yesterday, we talked about even things like vote on account, and we agreed that even vote on account must still be approved by the assembly. So we are going to encourage the governor to appreciate and recognize your constitutional duty, but we are also going to encourage you to remember that the county government is made up of the executive and the assembly. So you must find a way of working together. I think with that, I didn't want us to go too far with these meetings so that we have some little time as a committee to deliberate and see the way forward. I'm going to request that once we have some position for consideration by both parties, we could schedule a call tomorrow, maybe around 11 o'clock, and very briefly look at the minimum demands from the assembly and the executive, and if possible, bring both the assembly and the executive on this call and see how much ground we'll be able to cover. If we can't agree by end of day tomorrow, then you have a situation where we are asking whether Section 24, the automatic coming into effect of the appropriations bill will apply, or whether the injunctions in court will prevent it from applying. But let's not think about that now. I believe that we are all committed to finding a solution. Finally, there are bigger issues. The committee that was chaired by Senator Malala raised several governance issues which will need to be followed up. Fortunately or unfortunately, it is the duty of this committee to follow up the recommendations of that impeachment committee. But we don't want to mix things up. We want to first deal with this budget issue, and then now we can make a follow-up of the other recommendations. Senator Kibiru, I think and I believe that the Senate in these impeachments has always placed a responsibility on the senator from the county to lead mediation efforts. So Senator Kibiru will give you all the necessary support to bring the two parties together. I have said more than I should have said, and I beg to leave it at that, unless members, there is any other business that we think would be useful in shaping how this consideration is going to be. Any other business?
Chair, this is Njogu. On a point of information, the Senate will be sitting tomorrow at 10 with reference to the formula, because you mentioned about a meeting tomorrow at 11. Okay, so then we can internally look at the best time, the most appropriate time, but it's important that we have a conversation with the county of Kirinyaga tomorrow, because Friday is a day with consequences. Okay.
Chair.
Members, any other business?
Chair.
Senator Kibiru?
Yes, the MCS from Kirinyaga and the governor had asked me to request that all the members who are present to support the formula tomorrow. Thank you, Chair, and God bless you.
Senator Kibiru, are you not mixing up issues?
No, I have just heard about tomorrow, and so I was just passing a message from the MCAs that the governor of Kirinyaga to your committee.
Thank you. Is that the condition upon which the impasse was broken?
No, I'm just passing a message.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Any other business from members of the Senate? So
nothing, Chair. We're okay. We can conclude.
There being no other business, Majority Leader, Honorable Speaker Kirinyaga, once again, thank you. And I beg that you furnish us with some of the letters that you referred to, particularly those ones that invited the executive to budget consultative forum. That's extremely important. for us.
Chair, where is lunch served?
Lunch is served behind the tent. Let's meet there.
What about
do we have control of budget? Are we okay?
Mr. Chair, on a point of information.
Yes, please.
On a point of information, Mr. Chair.
Proceed. That's from Chair Budget.
Yes. On some of these letters you are requesting, they are with your Crispus. We forwarded them with they are attached with the budget approved, the CFSP, and some are with the memorandum report.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. If you really have them, then that would be very useful. Clerk?
They're in the process of getting here. We haven't actually received them. I've just got communication from the lady on the clerk's office in Kirinyaga that they got to the Senate and they were told that it is closed because of COVID. I've told her to have them to go back again, and once they get there, to notify me when they're there, and I'll ensure that they are received.
We can send another copy soft.
Yes. Yeah, please send a soft copy. And majority, I know you had requested for a physical, but because of the prevailing circumstances, we've been forced to do this virtually. But I think we are doing well. We are making progress.
Okay, much obliged, Mr. Chair. But I think we did the impeachment in the same condition, Mr. Chair. All it's
yeah. I think back then numbers were different, and we didn't know as much about this pandemic as we do. But we have also said that if there is need, if there is absolute need for a physical meeting, we can do it with the necessary protocols, even if it requires us to come to find
that would be perfect.
Would that be acceptable to the assembly if there was need for that?
We welcome you to Kirinyaga. It will be the perfect place to meet.
Okay.
And lunch, supper will be served.
But there has to be a budget before that happens.
But we can still use our personal budget.
No, we have no doubts about that. Budget, is there anything you want to observe before we close the meeting?
Senator Marara, I think
thank you, Mr. Chair.
We appreciate.
May I request?
I'm fine. I'm very fine. I'll be waiting to hear if there are things we need to provide. So we are on standby.
Thank you, Dr. Ari. Could I then request the members of the committee?
Yes.
We remain for about the next step as we bid goodbye to the honorable members. Asanteni sana.
Thank you.
So Njogu can usher out the other members and leave only the senators for a 2 or 3 minute consultation.